Okay, this is a 2002 Volkswagen Beetle, and I'm replacing the lower control arms because the ball joints have failed. They offer them two different ways. You can replace just the ball joint, or you can get the whole control arm with a ball joint in it. And the owner of this car opted to replace the control arms as a unit with the new ball joints. I've seen some of the control arms where they're pretty rusty, pretty crusty. Don't really want to trust them. This one, they actually don't look that bad, but I didn't see the vehicle and went ahead and ordered the parts, and he just wishes to proceed as planned. So I already did the passenger side. It's pretty straightforward installation. As you can see, look at that, all shiny and clean. There's your ball joint right there. You've got your ball joint nut on top. Oh, let me get the light up there so you can see it. Right there. And then you've got your sway bar link right here. So you got this bolt right here to take out. Your front control arm bolt, I should mention, this is a 16 millimeter. I'm using a 5/8 because it's the same thing. I don't have a 16 in my impact socket. And this one right here is an 18, and this one will slide right out. And then you've got another 18 right there, but there's no captured nut on top, so you've got to get in up here with a wrench. You can get in there with a wrench and hold that. Looking at the driver's side, it's a little bit different. This is an automatic transmission. This is the transmission pan, and as you can see, there's not enough room to get that bolt out of there. But I can't imagine they would make it that way without an somewhat easy solution. And it looks like this is going to be it right here. This is a dog bone mount, a wishbone mount right here, and this keeps the engine from rocking forward and back. So I'm going to go ahead and take this bolt out right here and loosen this one up over here. And I think I should be able to get just enough swing out of the engine to get that bolt out, because I did the other side, and the bolt looks like it's just a little bit longer than what we're seeing right there. So I'll set the camera down here and I'm going to get started. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the nut right here that's holding the tapered shaft of the ball joint into the steering knuckle. It's an 18 millimeter nut. I did notice though that the replacement the replacement ball joints come with a nut that's not an 18. I think it was 19. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. Okay, I got the nut broke loose, but as luck would have it, the tapered shaft of the ball joint, the stem, broke loose from the tapered hole that it goes through in the steering knuckle. The ball joints have a provision in the top that you can put an Allen wrench in there, but obviously I can't do that because the axle's in the way. So what I've done is I put a jack underneath it, and I'm going to jack it up until there's enough pressure on that to seat that shaft, or the tapered shaft into the hole. I should be able to get that off there. And put some tension on it. Should help us out here. Another thing I'm going to do, you can see looking at that nut's not going to come off because it's going to hit the axle. So what I'm going to do is take the axle nut off out here, drive the axle in far enough to create enough room for that nut to come off of there. That's how I did the other side over there. Let's see if we can get that to turn. It's turning, I can tell, because it's a lot more difficult than it was just a minute ago. Okay, the nut's almost touching the axle shaft, so I'm going to take the nut off the axle shaft and drive the axle shaft in. A lot of the foreign cars, Volkswagen, Toyota, Nissan, rather than using a 6-point standard axle nut, they use one of these right here. There's two sizes. This is a 30 millimeter. I think the other one might be a 32. Don't quote me on it. But I bought this for my dad's Toyota, and every foreign car that has had one of these nuts, it's been this size. So I guess I've lucked out so far. Okay, I'm just going to use an air hammer to run the axle shaft in. Okay, as you can see, we now have enough room to get the nut all the way off of there. Nuts off. Alright. Alright, I'm going to take off the nut, or the bolt right here. That's a 16 millimeter head, and that is for the sway bar link. Now I'm going to lift the car so we can get the two bolts underneath. Okay, underneath the car, you've got two main bolts, one right here and one right up here that hold the control arm on. But like I said, we can't get that out because the transmission pan's in the way. I'm not sure if a manual transmission, if you'd be able to get that out. You probably would. Obviously, it's not going to have a pan, but they're generally shaped a little bit different. I'm just not sure. I haven't done one of those yet. But I'm going to take out these two bolts right here for this mount. I'm going to pry the engine, swing the engine forward, and maybe place a block of wood or something in here to hold the engine forward to give me enough room to get that bolt out of there. Okay, you can see already that might almost be enough room right there, but I'm going to place a block of wood up there. That should work. There. Now that's an 18 millimeter, as is that one over there. See if we can get them both in the shot. All right. Okay, the rear bolt has a nut on the top side that is not captured, so you got to go up in here with a wrench, get in there just at the right angle, you'll be able to hold it. Pull your nut out of there too, because you don't want to lose that. Okay, the front one looks like I'm going to have to get it with a wrench because of the tight quarters that it's in. Get this plastic shield out of the way. Oh, almost. Great. Not quite out, almost out. I just need to pry it a little bit more. Let's see here, if I pry right on the block of wood, that should be right there. There it is. That's how you get that tricky bolt out. Like I said, the other side you don't have to do that. It comes right apart. Okay. Now we know that the taper was already broken loose earlier, so it shouldn't be much of a battle to pop that control arm out of there. There's nothing left holding it in. And that's how you pull the control arm out. Just like that. Obviously the installation is reverse of that. Like I said, this control arm's not in that bad a shape, but we didn't know. He just purchased this car for his daughter as her first vehicle, and we'd rather err on the side of caution. So we're going to put a whole new control arm, new ball joint back on it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and install the new control arm with ball joint. This is a Moog unit. Part number RK620717. This will be the driver's side. Alright, we're going to put the control arm up into place here. The first bolt I'm going to want to put in is the one that I had to fight with to get it out. So I'm going to go ahead and get that bolt right now. And my pry bar. No, I set the wrong bolt in there. The bigger one, of course. That went in way too easy. Alright, bolt is in place. I can leave the engine the way it is until I'm done with this. Give me a little bit more room to get anything up there. I'm going to tighten that down. Okay, like I said before, the other one is just a bolt and a nut. For whatever reason, the nut's not captured, so you'll have to get up on there with your wrench. It's not too difficult. Okay, before I tighten those up, I'm going to put the ball joint into the socket here. Let me make sure that that's in the view. I'm not. Alright. I'm going to put the stud for the ball joint in the socket where it goes before I tighten those up. Yeah, the one that came off was an 18 millimeter. This one's a 19 millimeter. This is the only 19 millimeter on this particular job right here. Alright, I'll just get that finger tight. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these other two bolts up. If I was going to label one side harder than the other, it would definitely be this side, because the other side, there's nothing in the way of this bolt, just open space. You've got at least 6 inches before you reach the oil pan, so you can get right in there with an impact and zing it right out. Can't quite do that with this side, but honestly, it's not, neither side is difficult. Anybody can do this. I don't know that anybody should be doing it, but okay. We'll put our bolt for our sway bar link back in. Pull down on that a little bit to get it to line up. And again, this is 16 millimeter or 5/8. I don't have a 5/8, or I'm sorry, a 16 millimeter. Well, I do. I can't find it. So I'm using a 5/8 because the 5/8 is close enough to the same size to allow it to work. You won't strip it out. It's not sloppy. I would have said it's the same size, but somebody would have said no, it's not. So, okay, I'm going to lower the car down, and I'm going to tighten up the nut on top of the ball joint stud, and then we'll put the nut back onto the end of the axle, torque it to factory specs, and we'll put the wheel back on. The only thing left to do under here is the engine mount that we took off. So let me move you here. We'll do that before we lower it down, so save us one less trip up and down. All right. Block of wood, handy to have. And both of these bolts, the heads of them are also 16 millimeter or 5/8, whatever you got. You can see how easy that engine moves. You don't need any special tools or anything like that. You can move it around and get your threads started so you don't strip anything out, cross-threaded or anything like that. Okay, we'll lower it down, we'll finish it up. One thing I'd like to point out is that I didn't take the brakes apart. You don't have to do that. They're not in the way. As long as you turn the wheel all the way to the outside. If you're doing the left side, you want to turn the wheel all the way left. If you're doing the right side, turn the wheel all the way to the right. And what that does, it allows you enough room to get in here and access this. You do not have to take apart the brakes. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten up this nut on top of the stem on the ball joint. That's right, I grabbed an 18, that's a 19. Okay, the nut's slipping a little bit. It's actually, the nut's not slipping. The stem is slipping. The whole thing is turning in the hole in the knuckle. So I'm going to show you how to get around that problem. You could do this on the floor with a jack stand, or you could lower the car down on a jack stand. What I usually do, I got this screw jack, and I just put some tension on that, and it seats the tapered shaft into the tapered hole. And it's usually strong enough to hold it together there while I torque the nut down. Let's see what happens here. Yep, it's working. Okay, now the only thing I got left to do is I'm going to look up the factory specs on the axle nut torque and torque that down with my torque wrench. And then I'll put the wheel back on, the tire back on. And that is how you change a control arm ball joint on a Volkswagen. It might apply to other Volkswagens. I don't know which ones are all the same. I don't work on them very often, to be honest. But that's how it's done. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. If it was, give me a thumbs up. If you hated it, give me a thumbs down. Take care.